things that are possible, all the things that we can achieve. And quite often, when we come to Unity on Sunday morning, those are the conversations we have. Well, I'm actually going to go a little bit in a different direction with today's lesson, because I think sometimes we try to do too much. I think sometimes in our own human strength, we try to be perfect rather than just being present. And when Reverend Ken asked me if I would be willing to teach the lesson, I said yes, I would be happy. I've wanted for a while to be able to teach a lesson here again. And so as I reflected on that, and as some people in the congregation heard that I would be teaching this morning instead of Ken, a lot of people thought that, oh, that is really nice of you, JD. Like, he put so much into last week's Moana production that, you know, there was 4 singers and 5 instruments, and there were graphics, and there was animation, and all of this sort of stuff. And he's a little wiped out. And they're like, that's really sweet of you to step in and give him a bit of a break. Well, truth be told, he says a whole lot of stuff about me and the kids from up here on platform. Now's my chance to set the record straight, as it was, on a couple of things. You see, Ken and I are like really different in a lot of ways in our lives. And when it works well, that's really what you want in a partnership, is complementary skill sets and complementary thoughts. But there are some things that I do on a daily basis that are really important. Like making the bed. Like putting the dirty clothes in the hamper, which is 8 feet away from the bathroom, okay? I clean the kitchen spotlessly 3 or 4 times a day. I carry toys from the living room back to the nursery. I carry coffee cups from the bathroom and the bedroom up to the kitchen. I carry empty soda cans from throughout the house to the recycling can in the kitchen. And let's just be really clear, I don't play with toys, I don't drink coffee at home, and I don't drink soda. So there's a whole lot that I end up doing that other adults in our household choose not to. And last night's bath, this is so cool that Ken is out of the room. So last night's bath was probably the epitome of the differences that we are as parents. Ken bought this product called, I'm really sorry that Sam's hearing this product called Jelly Bath. Now, what Jelly Bath is, you know what Jell-O is.
Oh, God.
Imagine making that in the bath while the kids are bathing. Now, you drop one thing in and it turns into ballistic blue. Does that ever sound like something kids should be doing in the bathtub? And then you add another color and it becomes a purple planet tour. And so this is how Ken parents. This is how Ken bonds with our kids and entertains. And that's not me. I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm making the bed, I'm organizing in alphabetical order the shoes in the closet. And I realize that there's times that I am just a little too connected to perfect and not just connected to being present. And as I sat down in the study last night, working on the perfect outline for the perfect talk this morning, and I could hear Ken and the kids doing ballistic blue, it was so evident that the way we look at things is different, and that we approach life differently. It actually took me back to a poem. The first author that I ever knew personally was my older sister, Kathy. And when I was 11 and she was 21, she published her first book of poetry. And it was called Butterflies and Chocolate Ice Cream, and in a very 1972 E.E. Cummings sort of poetic way, she had this poem that has stuck with me, and now that I'm a parent, I pulled it out last night, and it just hit me at a completely different level. It's called Memories in Shades of Chocolate. After watching a 3-year-old devour a chocolate ice cream cone, I'm convinced that it's not what's on the inside, but it's what's on the outside that counts. As she smiled through several layers of chocolate, I could not help but envy her. It has been a long time since being covered with chocolate ice cream didn't bother me. We have so much to learn about thinking through how we interact with one another and how we can approach being present versus our task list, our endless emails that we're trying to get through, our bills that we're paying, our obligations that we're keeping. That same sister, Kathy, we are now both older than we were in 1973, and she gave me a book when she was last here to visit. She was here for Roma's birthday, and some of you may have met her. And the book is by Shauna Nyquist, and it's called Present Over Perfect. And I have relished this book over the last month since her visit. And it is full of very short chapters, like 3 pages, 4 pages. And in fact, I could have read the whole book cover to cover, but I wanted to nourish it. I wanted to nurture it. And so I would force myself to only do a chapter or 2 and then have something to look forward to the next day. And in this book, it convicted me about how many times I choose perfect, household chores or email or bill payment, rather than being present. So trust me, today's lesson is not from somebody who has it all figured out. It is from somebody who is on the journey and just offering my thoughts for what it may help you. So what I've done is I've taken some of the lessons from her book and some lessons from my own life, and I've just put together 7 tips, 7 steps that I'll offer you to think about being present over being perfect. So the first one I want to begin with is research that was done. I heard a speaker a couple of years ago at a conference who was a consultant that had been hired by Disneyland to come to Disneyland. They brought a team of consultants in. It was a 3-day engagement. And they said, what we want you to do is we want you to go through the park, and we want you to pay attention to what parents are paying attention to, so that we can redesign the park or accent the design of the park appropriately so that we are serving our guests. I'm sorry, pay attention to what children are focused on so that we can design the park and have it be, the best possible. Well, this group of consultants went out watching families and paying attention to what children were paying attention to. And, the park was anxious to know, was it the animals, was it the colors, was it the merchandise? What was it the kids were most focused on? Well, the team of consultants, halfway through day 1, they had it. And they went back to their client contact and they said, we've got this. They said, no, we really want you to be sure. We hired you for 3 days, keep doing your field work. So they went back out to the park for the afternoon. Morning of the second day, they said, we think we've got it. No, we hired you for 3 days, keep going. So they went and they continued for 3 days, and all they ended up doing was validating their hypothesis that they knew what kids were most focused on when they were at Disneyland. Mom and Dad's cell phone. Because as a parent breaks connection to check email or text somebody or take a picture and then see what email has come in or what news alerts have come in, they become drawn to the phone, and kids reach up, and I see it with Roma, and I see it with Jason, and they want the phone. And so my first tip for you about being present over being perfect is put the phone away. Just be with the people in your life. Ken and I often will, in a restaurant, look around at all of the other couples who are eating and how one or both of them will be on the phone. We had one couple the other night, like the 2 of them never spoke to each other. And I said, do you think they're texting each other? It's like they were in their own little world. So the first step is put the phone down. We try to have what we call device-free dinner, because we know as soon as we pull a device out, whether it's Tobias or Ken or I, the kids will be focused on that rather than on the meal and on the conversation. Second strategy I'd offer is renew yourself with meditation. Renew yourself with meditation. We really do have to go within to connect with our inner self in order to have anything to be present to other people with. Elizabeth and this morning Marty make it wickedly easy for us to come a little early to service, which is now a half hour later than it used to be, so it all works out. And to sit in silent meditation before you come up to the service. I use the app Headspace, which is a great app. It was given to me as a Christmas gift this year. And what I like about it is it gives me a daily meditation. I can do 1 minute, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But every day, it records that I've done it. I'm on a 51-day streak. I get a little badge. I didn't think a little badge would matter to me. You know, I'm 52 years old, you know. But I'm not going to mess it up because I get the next badge at 90 days. And so I've got 39 more, 39 more to get there. Whatever you need to put in place so that you get some of that silent meditation, I urge you to do. Third, establish eye contact. And eye contact, first of all, my day job, I teach public speaking at Stanford. You can't make eye contact with more than one person at a time. It is physically impossible, even though there's 40 or 50 of you in here, it is physically impossible for me to look at anything other than one person at a time. And so when you're having a conversation, when you want to really be present with somebody, make that direct eye contact. Make that direct eye connection. Roma's got this new trick that I don't know where she learned, but when she really wants our focused attention, may I touch your face?
Yes.
Okay, can you look away?
Yeah.
Okay, if we're looking away, she'll go. Like, both hands on the chin, drawing us in, as if to say, hey, me, pay attention to me, only me, right now. I thought about trying that with my dean. I thought, but when you look and really see, it's the window to the soul. It's the window to that other person's soul. Tyler, I'm going to throw you a little bit under the bus the other day. Yeah. A little bit under the bus now about something that happened the other day. Tyler has stepped in and is doing some work in the office in Peggy's absence. And I came by for a meeting the other day, and I came in the back door and up the steps, and he was busy on his computer, busy at the desk. And he was, you know, oh, I guess I shouldn't have left the back door open. And I said, yeah, probably not. And he goes, oh my God, I thought it was Ken. Because he didn't look up to see who came in the room. He assumed on a Thursday at 1 o'clock, the only person coming in and out would be Ken. But it's that eye contact, it's stopping what we're doing and making that connection and knowing who is around, who is with us. Next strategy. I've been trying to practice. I don't do it every day. But start your day outside. I either step out onto the back patio or out this morning, I just stepped out on the front porch and just do 3 or 4 really deep breaths of fresh air that hasn't been filtered through your air conditioning or your fan system or in your house. And really just pause for that second to let that freshness touch you and be a part of it. We all can't take, when we used to have Buddy, I used to take Buddy for a walk in the morning and in the park nearby. We don't all have the opportunity that we can really invest a ton of time outside before we go to work and start our day, but even just taking that moment. Pausing for a sunrise. When I drive down the 280 on my way to Stanford and it's early in the morning and I get the privilege of seeing the sunrise, shut the radio off, turn off the audiobook, whatever I'm doing, and just be present to it. Or if you get to see a sunset here on the West Coast, right on the water, like when we can do that, to embrace that. Even just adding a view to your drive. You know, I love when I'm driving from the Castro back to our house, going by 21st and over the top of Dolores Park, there's such an amazing view of San Francisco. And you just take a moment and breathe it in. Build some of those moments in your life that you get the outdoors into you. Express acknowledgement. Got a couple of tips here that I've been working on. One of my friends, Gregory, who's here, we do a gratitude list every night and text each other. And if I haven't done mine yet, I get his at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We're watching the news on Stephen Colbert or Trevor, no, it's the only news I can take. And I'm like, oh, I haven't done my gratitude list. And just pausing to make sure that there are 5 things in the day that I can acknowledge that I am grateful for. And just that daily practice. When things are bad, I can go to my phone, I can pull Gregory up, and I can just look and see, oh yeah, look at all this stuff I have acknowledged and been grateful for over the last week, over the last month, over the last, I'm doing it a year and a half now, maybe longer. Another strategy, for those of you who live and die by email, I have a cousin who just retired from American Airlines, and when she would be out, people say, oh, you work for American Airlines. What do you do? Email. No, really, what's your job? She's like, email. That's pretty much what I do. And many of us have that experience of our jobs. It's all about the email. Well, Ken suggested to me, and I put in place a new rule about email. I don't get to go into my email inbox until I've written one outgoing email that's an acknowledgement. I send it to somebody who's done something nice to me. I send it the one I sent was to the author of this book, just telling her how much I got out of it. Somebody who did something for me at work, somebody who's unacknowledged at work for the things that they do. And then I have permission to go ahead and dive into my inbox. But that way I'm being proactive about my acknowledgement and my gratitude rather than reactive to the most recent thing at the top of my inbox. Next. Yeah, that's good. Nurture all your senses. Nurture all your senses. Many times, we just rely on what we see and what we hear. In this internet age, with everything on YouTube, and probably there are some people that are watching this talk on YouTube, we just rely on what we hear and what we see. But what about what we taste? What about what we touch? What we smell? Find some ways to put those nurturing elements in your life. Cook spaghetti, for those of you who can cook. Add some spices to it and let that remind you of the vitality of who we are. Nibble on something, like mint, like a little bit of mint. Oh, it wakes me up. It reminds me that I'm alive and that I'm there. One of the things I love, and I meant to bring it in, one of the things I love to hold and touch is a handmade Afghan that was made by a woman in my hometown when I was younger. And she gave it to my mother, Margaret Thorns is her name, and we have had that in the family, since probably sometime in the mid-70s or early 80s. And after my mother passed, I went to my dad, and my dad's home, and then after my dad passed, or before he passed, one of the times we downsized, I brought it to our house, and I love cuddling with Roma in it. I love holding it and touching it. And it's using what other senses can I use rather than just what I see and what I hear. Accentuating those as a way to be present to the world around us. And finally, take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. The music that we began with about, I can touch the sky, I can do all these amazing things, was a good stepping stone for this conversation. I think we've got to begin with being a little less focused on everything we're trying to do and be focused within. Find some ways to pamper yourself. Those who are familiar, in the 12-step rooms, we talk about HALT. I can't be too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Got to be sure that I've fed, that I've slept, that I've cleared anger, that I'm connected with other people. And find some ways to pamper yourself. For me, it's a mani-pedi. I wanted to get one before today so I could show it off, but it didn't happen yesterday. Maybe it'll be my reward tonight. Whenever we get on an airline, those of you who travel a lot, I love the reminder when they do the announcement about the air masks. And they say, in the event of an emergency, please put your own air mask on first before trying to help those around you. We cannot give what we do not have. And so make sure you've taken care of yourself. I want to read just a little bit from Shauna Nyquist's book, just to give you a sense of her writing style and why I ate this up so much. If this book were a movie, it would be a chick flick, okay? It's probably extremely popular on the women's book circuit, book club circuit in churches. I would imagine that that's a lot of who her ownership is. But oh, what a ripoff to the rest of us to not benefit from what she's written. I'm just going to read you a little bit from one of her chapters. When it seems the world wants me to be really skinny and really tired. If I could shrink and hustle, I'd be right there. Skinny and tired, shrink and hustle. This is what our culture wants us to be. Skinny and tired from relentlessly shrinking and hustling. To be clear, I have nothing against people who are really skinny, whether that's just how God made their bodies or because fitness and nutrition are central parts of their lives. You do you, skinny people, but I'm going to do me, and me is not skinny. I'm just not. I've lived all my life believing a fantasy that I'm just about 6 months from finally being skinny. Okay, 6 months more. Okay, 6 more. Oops. I didn't know what I was doing the last 6 months, but 6 months from now, for sure. You know what? 6 months from now, I bet I'm going to look pretty much like this. And so at long last, I'm making peace with being medium-sized and choosing to be happy. Rested, not exhausted, not afraid, not wired and panicky all the time. This is countercultural. This is rebellious. What I want so deeply and what I offer to you, grace and nourishment. And those are the exact opposites of what I've been practicing for so long. Exhaustion and starvation. You can rest. You don't have to starve. Exhaustion and starvation are the twin virtues of that world, but I will not live there anymore. I will practice hospitality, the offering of grace and nourishment to myself. Instead of being starved and small, I will be medium, and I will be happy. So, I've put a lot out there in a very short period of time, but I hope that in this conversation, I've given you some access, either reminded you of some things that we all know, or gave you some new insights about how to be present rather than perfect. Talked about putting down the phone, renewing ourselves with meditation, establishing eye contact, starting the day outdoors, expressing acknowledgement, nurturing all our senses, and taking time for yourself. And if it's still a little hard for you to remember, I made it as easy as possible. Strive to be present, not perfect. Let the to-do list go. Let the dishes pile up a day or two. Let the bed go unmade once or twice. Not 7 days a week. Let's not be ridiculous. But take little steps that we can be present to the people we care about and not consumed with being perfect. Let's take that into our time of meditation.